Hi there, and welcome to Out There, a Cryptid podcast. I'm Josh, and today we're doing something a little different. I'm introducing a new show I like to call SasqWatching. It's a show where I watch crazy Bigfoot videos from YouTube and TikTok and rate them from 1 to 5 feet in believability. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, you can go and find all of these videos on our Instagram. But if you're a member of our Patreon, you're watching me right here in my living room. If you aren't following us on TikTok yet, make sure to follow us at Out There Cryptids and send me any videos you want me to cover. Today, I have 6 different videos for you. Some very believable, others maybe not so much, but all of them of supposed Sasquatch. So, let's dive in. Our first video I like to call Bigfoot Caught on Eagle Cam. Now, a little background on it. In May 2016, a live stream camera operated by Carbon TV was monitoring a bald eagle nest near the Palette River State Fish Hatchery in Michigan. The camera, positioned approximately 85 feet above the ground, was intended to observe the nesting activities of bald eagles. During one of the broadcasts, viewers noticed a dark bipedal figure moving through the forest floor beneath the nest. The figure appeared to walk upright, pause briefly, and then continue out of the camera's view. Now, let's take a look at the footage. So we see the 2 baby eagles, and then up there in the corner, if you see the creature moving, and there'll be like a zoom in. It's a dark figure. Yeah. It looks like it's like rummaging through the forest floor or something. Like you can even hear the eagles. And then it seems to like walk on a log. It's like on a log. Taking big steps, but then it kind of like trips almost, and then it walks out of view of the camera, and that's the footage. Okay, let's talk about it. So in this footage, it is a super believable sort of type of video because, of course, these eagle nests are so famous, especially now on TikTok. So for this to be up in the wilderness makes sense, and a lot of people watch. And of course, who else lives in the wilderness? Sasquatch. So it wouldn't be surprising that this sort of creature would be walking into the frame by accident, unaware. Now, it does look like a Sasquatch, right? It has dark hair. It's looks pretty big. I mean, especially if we're this far up and we can see it. Here's the thing that I'm confused by. Confused, maybe not, but skeptical about. If you look when it's walking, it almost looks like it's like teeter-tottering along a log, like with its arms out. And that to me seems more like human behavior because, you know, when you go out into the woods and if you walk on a log, you don't have the best balance. But a Bigfoot that lives out there all the time, wouldn't they just be able to walk right on it? But I guess at the same time, big feet have to have fun too, right? So if they wanted to walk on the log, I guess it could be a fun little thing to do, especially if you're just on a stroll in the forest. Now, there are people that have come out from this video to talk about it. So the executive from Carbon TV named Daniel Selger told USA Today, from what we can see, what anybody can see with their plain eyes is up to interpretation. And it's definitely grounds for speculation as a legitimate sighting. But who knows? Now, who knows is very true. Jeff Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State University and a noted Bigfoot researcher, said that the video was interesting but inconclusive. He emphasized that the lack of scale and detail in the image makes it challenging to determine what the figure truly is. And I would agree with that. I mean, for me, this one could be a Bigfoot, but there's something about the way it walks that doesn't really look like a Bigfoot. But at the same time, we haven't really seen many, so who's to say? The other thing is that a lot of people who have watched the video have pointed out the fact that it's not walking in as big of strides. It seems to just be normally walking. So maybe the stride is the thing that everyone keeps coming back to. Another thing people point out is the fact that this creature supposedly just happened to walk into the perfect frame of where the eagle's nest would catch it. Now, that is a tad bit suspicious, don't you think? The fact that something would perfectly walk where the camera is absent. Now, it's time to rate the eagle's nest Bigfoot. I gotta say, this one, it's a good way to start. It's interesting, but inconclusive, which is kind of fun. However, I'm going to rate this one at 2 feet. Unfortunately for me, I'm not buying it. I don't think it's the most believable thing I've ever seen. Do I think that it could be a real Bigfoot? Absolutely. I mean, who am I to say? But there is something about it that I just don't really trust. I think it was a pretty good setup for somebody to just walk right on through and start a little chaos. I mean, it is a TV company, so entertainment like that is amazing. So I'm going to stick to 2 feet. All right, let's dive into our second video. Now, this one might actually be my favorite video that we're going to talk about today because I have so many thoughts on it. But there's a lot of background to go through before we even get to the video. So let's look at the background. So this video we are going to call the Todd Standing video. Now, Todd Standing is a Canadian filmmaker and a self-proclaimed Sasquatch researcher who gained attention for his 2017 Discovering Bigfoot documentary. In the film, he presents what he claims to be unprecedented footage of Sasquatch encounters, including close-up images of alleged creatures in the wild. Standings asserts that these encounters occurred during expeditions in remote areas of Canada, and he has led guided tours where participants reportedly had similar experiences. Now, of course, there's a catch to this, right? However, Standing's work has been met with significant skepticism. Critics point out inconsistencies in his footage, such as the lack of movement in the subjects and the absence of contextual shots that would validate these encounters. Some have noted that the creatures in his video appear to be static and bear resemblance to costumes or props. So that's a lot to digest, right? And hard before we even look at this footage. And I want to preface that the fact that I read all of this, even after seeing the footage, right? But there's something about this particular footage that stands out to me. And I think it opens up a different can of worms that we should talk about when we're talking about Sasquatch videos. Now, there's a little more description on what this video is, and then we'll watch. His most discussed footage involves a close-up of what he claims is a Sasquatch peering through the trees. Now, this footage was featured in his 2017 documentary, Discovering Bigfoot. Now, it's time to watch the footage, and I want you to carefully watch it because it's crazy. Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing because it's from his documentary, but we're only going to watch the beginning part, and I'll tell you what time frame we're watching from. But let's watch, and hopefully you see why I'm curious too.
Complete segments of Todd Standing's filming of Sasquatches in another area where he's worked on, and with him
you guys are
explaining
seeing
the
this, right?
background, which is so important. And
so, for me,
I'm firmly convinced that he had
you only have to watch 12 seconds of it. For me, that is absolutely insane. And my first instinct is that's literally what Sasquatch has to look like, right? I mean, if you go back and you really look at this thing, it has these giant eyes, like huge, and they look black or maybe a dark brown. But the thing that really gets me is the hair. I mean, you can only see some of it, but you do see a sort of circular, like puffy hair. And the lips kind of look like human lips, right? But they come down into like a frown almost. I just frowned for you all, but they kind of come down into a frown. And it all looks proportional, right? And similar to what a human looks like. But if that's a human being, then whoever did the makeup on this person needs to work in Hollywood, because I mean, that to me is literally what Bigfoot looks like. And you can see that it is kind of swaying. It doesn't blink, but it is moving. Like it almost like peers a little bit extra and goes like this. So you remember how they said that a lot of his things look static. This does look static for sure, but it is moving almost like a Bigfoot would if they're watching you. So I don't know. I think this footage is absolutely wild. I'm so intrigued by it. Like, you have no idea how crazy this video is to me. And I personally think that this one has to be a real Bigfoot, right? But if it isn't, like I said, then this person deserves an Emmy for the makeup, or an Oscar even, I don't know. They just deserve every single award, because that is absolutely insane. Now, with this video, we do have some things we need to talk about. So, critics argue that the figure resembles a static mask or a puppet, lacking the natural movements expected from a living creature. Some analysis suggests that the facial features align closely with human proportions, raising suspicions that it might be a person in a costume. Despite the controversy, Standing maintains that this footage is genuine and continues to advocate for the recognition of Sasquatch as a real species. Like we've seen and talked about, it does look static-ish, but it is swaying and almost leaning in. So yes, static, because I feel like a creature would probably freeze up if they saw somebody, but not static in the sense that it looks like fake. Now, the fact that they say the facial features are too aligned to a human's, that kind of makes sense to me for a Bigfoot, right? Because if we are thinking of Bigfoot as some sort of a hybrid between a human and an ape, or if we're just thinking of them as a giant ape that kind of stopped evolving, or maybe kept evolving but in a different direction, it would make sense that we share similar facial features. And like I said, yes, it is true that the nose is in the same spot, the eyes are in the same spot, but the eyes are much larger than a human's eyes and much more round. Ours are a little more oval, but those were like perfect circles. And you couldn't see any white in the eye whatsoever. So I don't really know how they'd be able to do that other than contacts in the eye to cover up the white, but I don't know how you reshape an eye like that unless it's a great mask, which is possible, but like we've said, that's the Oscar right there. Oscar goes to Todd Standing for this video. But I have to say, I'm absolutely obsessed with this one. Like 100%, I'd put money down that is a genuine Bigfoot. And now, for the rating. I'm giving this video 4 feet. Now, I want to give it 5. I want to give it 5. But the fact that Todd Standing doesn't have the best reputation makes me a little worried about giving it a 5. I mean, a 5 would mean that, we're done, case closed, Bigfoot's real, blah, blah, blah. But I guess with Todd, I can see that this might be not 100% real. Or at least there's a chance it's not 100% real. So I don't want to give it 5 stars. stars, feet yet. I'm holding back on that video. But to me, this is the closest we can get to something real. So 4 feet, final answer. This next video we are going to talk about, we are going to call Crime Scene Bigfoot. Now, we're going to call it that because this TikTok video has been circulating and it claims to show a Bigfoot at a crime scene where human remains were reportedly discovered. Now, in the video, a figure resembling Bigfoot is seen throwing large tree limbs and causing destruction in an area alleged to be a crime scene. The footage also includes a close-up of the figure's face captured on a trail cam. This content has sparked discussions and debates among viewers regarding its authenticity and the implications of such an encounter. Now, the bad news is we have no information on where this footage comes from. So, we don't really know how honest the person is that filmed it and posted it, but I think the footage speaks for itself. So, let's take a watch. So, if you can see in the video, kind of dead center, and it zooms in, there's some creature, and it looks massive, like huge. And you could see its face too. And it almost looked like it had a huge mane of hair, and only like right here was just skin. Now it stood up and it looks huge, and it's dragging a dead tree. Another like big tree falls, but it's like dragging a dead tree. Oh my gosh, but then it throws like a giant, it's not even a log, but like literally a small tree. It throws it. Oh my God. And then it just, oh my God. And then it just picked up another one and like slammed it down on the ground. Now it's behind a tree, so you can't really see all of it, but you can see the outline of everything, and you can even see the top of its head. That is crazy. I don't even have words for how crazy this video is. You all really have to be watching this. I mean, even the comments are like, not gonna lie, this is probably the most convincing Bigfoot evidence I've ever seen. Someone said that's not a Bigfoot, that's Hagrid, which that does make sense. But whoa, that's wild. Okay, what are my thoughts on this one? Well, the first time I watched it on my phone, so it was a little smaller, I guess. And, I was like, interesting. But having watched it on my laptop, I'm kind of shocked. I mean, that was absolutely wild. And I don't understand how somebody in a costume could be doing that with that big of tree stumps. But they're not even stumps, like literally trees, small trees. I mean, that's wild. It's like flinging it around. And I honestly think that it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a crime scene. Like, I don't think that Bigfoot hurt anybody in this instance. I'm sure that it was unrelated, but it just happened to be there. I mean, what we do suspect, what Matt Moneymaker will always say, what we know about Bigfoot is that they build nests with trees like this. A lot of the times they'll build like almost like the tent type things, but so this one could have been collecting things. Or another thing is that it could have been mad that humans were in its area, and so it was fighting back. It was like throwing things around, because it is just sitting there at the beginning of the footage, like just like chilling, and does kind of look angry, but I feel like maybe they just always look angry. So I'm not too sure about that, but it is wild, right? Like I'm not alone in this one. This to me is equally as impressive as the last one, except the last one was like detailed. And here's my thought, and I know we're like only halfway through, but here's my thought on all of these videos and on Bigfoot as a whole. We have videos like this, right? Who's to say that all of these aren't 100% real footage of a Bigfoot. But because Bigfoot has become this sort of fantasy creature or a fairy tale, what if people don't believe anything they watch? What if, no matter what pieces of evidence we find, besides a living, breathing Bigfoot that we capture, or even a body of a Bigfoot, what evidence besides that would be enough that we don't already have? We have DNA. We have footprints. We have footage. What else do they need to believe? Besides, again, I know a body or a living specimen. I totally understand that. But, I mean, what if all of these pieces of evidence are true, real Bigfoot, but we classify them as something fake and thrown aside? And maybe down the line, far, far away, when we do find out that they are real, which I think we will at some point, maybe we'll look back at all this footage and be like, oh my gosh, we've been watching it this whole time. We've caught it the whole time. But enough people are out there faking it that we just believed it was fake. That's so crazy to me. Okay, now it's time to rate this video. I feel like this is a tough one to rate because I want to give it 5. You know, I want to give it 5 feet because I am shocked. I'm gobsmacked. However, we don't have any information on where this video comes from, what crime scene it is, or even what country it's from. So I am suspicious about that. You know, no one coming forward to claim the footage. That's weird to me. But the content itself, to me, would be almost 100% believable. Like the last one. Like, I'm literally ready. I'm all in, ready to go. But something's holding me back, especially about the fact that we have no information on anything about it. So I think I'm going to have to give this one 3 feet. Because for 4, if we had information, you know I'd give it a 4. I'd maybe even give it a 5. Probably not a 5 because we just talked about that. But 3 is the best I can give it until somebody comes forward and tells us where this is and what they're doing with this footage. Because if I took it, I would be singing to the media being like, y'all need to see this because this is a true Bigfoot. So we'll leave it at a 3. Our next video, we are going to call Looking in the Window because that's exactly what it's doing. Just staring into somebody's window. That sounds absolutely terrifying. Let's watch the footage.
Bigfoot looking through the window.
Okay. See. Oh. You can like see the outline of it. And the craziest thing is you can see the eye shine of whatever it is. Like its eyes are glowing. And it seems to be like standing upright, but then like crouching down and looking in. It gets pretty close to the camera. And then it'll stand back up. Not the camera, the window. And then it'll stand back up and then it just like darted off camera. Oh, I mean, that's creepy. Whatever it is, that's creepy. The thing for me that makes it seem kind of believable almost is the eye shine. Like, we as humans don't have that. Or we don't have the tapetums, whatever you call them. We don't have those. That's an animal trait. So the fact that its eyes are glowing is weird. And especially weird because like the lights are on from the inside of the house. So I don't really know where that eye shine would even come from. But can you imagine being in your living room or even your bedroom or bathroom and then that's staring through your window? And I'm sure that whoever took this footage, this isn't the first time. Because why would they have set up the camera if it was? So that means that this thing has probably been there so many times before. And the fact that it's by just screen, like literally there is just a screen between that and getting into your house. That's absolutely terrifying. Like, are you kidding me? That is so horrifying to even think about. I'm going to have nightmares tonight because of that. Oof. Now, just like the last footage, we don't have any information on this one. The poster is not the original taker of the video, and you can't really find anything about it. We don't know where it is, so it is hard to confirm all of the information with, and that does affect the believability, right? Especially because it is just an outline of something. The eye shine is weird for sure, and it does somewhat look like a gorilla almost, but that's just probably my mind filling in what we can't see. You know, the figure is practically obscured by the window frame and its poor lighting. It looks bulky. I don't know. It does look like a Bigfoot, I would say, and it makes sense because Bigfoot behavior would account for this. A lot of people have claimed to have seen Bigfoot staring into their house or staring into their cars. They're curious by nature, supposedly. So this would make sense for something, maybe not maliciously looking in, but something just curious, and maybe they've worked up the courage to get that close. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I think it is very believable for sure, but I think we don't know enough information about it. Now, it's time for our rating. For this footage, looking through a window, I'm going to give it 3 feet. Now I know you might be saying that's a lot of feet compared to what we just saw, but I think in this case, it would be weird to have somebody in a costume with that perfect eye shine. Like, not too bright that it's a flashlight, not too dim that it's normal people's eyes, so there's no shine at all. So, I don't even know how you'd be able to accomplish that. And it's just weird. It's just weird, and it fits perfectly in with Sasquatch behavior. So for me, I think it's a solid 3. Maybe not a solid 3, maybe a low 3, close to 2.5 almost. If I could give it 2.5, I would give it 2.5, but we're going to say full feet. So 3 feet it is. We have 2 more videos to cover, and our next one actually has information on it, so that's already a plus. We are going to call this one the Wild Horse Lake video. Now, it was filmed near Wild Horse Lake in Oregon's Steens Mountains. A dark, upright figure is seen moving swiftly across a distant hillside. The footage captured by a family during a hike shows the figure navigating the rugged terrain with notable agility. So, knowing that, let's watch the video. All right, let's watch it. So you see a nice looking grandpa with his camera, and there's a beautiful lake, and there's mountains, and it seems like they're telling him to like look behind him. Oh, and there it is. There it is. So and they zoom in, it looks like it's like getting out of the water and running. I guess you can see it in the back of the footage, like of the picture they're taking of the grandfather, I'm assuming, or maybe the dad, I'm not sure. But then it seems to like get out of the water and then starts running back up the mountain. And it's kind of running like with its arms behind it, like, wah, which is kind of funny. But then the video shuts off, so we don't see it, finish. But you see the grandfather pull up his camera, so, I don't know. That's weird. Now, there is limited information on the video itself, especially regarding the family's account. So, from what's available, the family who filmed the video reportedly saw the figure while hiking in the area. They were stunned by what they witnessed and decided to capture the footage. However, they haven't provided extensive commentary about the exact moment they saw the creature or other details about the encounter. There's no indication of a direct interview or detailed public statement beyond the video's initial release. So that is kind of suspicious. And honestly, after reading that, you know what I do think? I feel like how we talked about it running with its arms behind its back and how that's funny, that seems very human to me. That seems very childlike to me. And the fact that they seem in the video like they're just kind of like, oh, look at that, instead of like, what is that, is interesting to think about. But at the same time, if these creatures are as close to humans as maybe gorillas might be, or somewhere between that, it would make sense that mannerisms, especially if it's a juvenile Bigfoot, mannerisms would be similar. So maybe this thing was in the lake swimming, and this family walked up and it was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm in the lake. They're right there. And it stayed hidden in the lake, probably swimming for a while. And then it was like, I got to make a break for it. And then it was literally running for its life. Okay, I'm back on. Yeah, my theory works. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So that would be perfect for what happened in this case. I'm a genius. And now, for our rating. I'm going to give this video a solid 2 feet. Now I know you were expecting me to say 3 feet, but I can't just hand those out to everybody. I can't hand out feet to every video that we watch. That would be unfair and unethical. In this case, my theory, which I do think is a very strong theory, is just a theory. It's a hypothesis based on information that we have in this video and based on information we know about Bigfoot, or think we know. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But I do think that this one leans a little more towards the 2.5 side. I don't know. I like it. I think it's interesting. I think that my theory is correct if it is a real Bigfoot. And I think this family got one of the craziest encounters ever. Our final video is a very interesting one again. And this one we are going to call Baby Bigfoot in a Tree. Now, let's take a look at the footage. Okay, in the footage, it's of a hiker that's like breathing super heavy, and he's zooming into a very tall tree. And then, whoa, and then he zooms all the way in, and you see something that he says, like, you see what I'm seeing? And he zooms in closer, and you see what appears to be some creature with like a cone-shaped head and like black fur, but its eyes are like black skin, like a gorilla's skin, and you can kind of see what looks to be like eyes, and it's in a very like big and fluffy pine tree, so it is kind of hard to tell. But he zooms in even closer, and you really can see it. It's very stoic, like very stoic. And he says, "I see you, buddy." And he's looking. He says he can see the white of his eyes in the corner. I can't see any white of the eyes, but I definitely can see what looks to be like some kind of a Bigfoot creature. Now, please excuse Miss Pendleton in the background. She is entertaining herself, so we're going to let her play with her bone. But anyway, in this video, it is weird. Like, you know, the fact that we have this hiker coming upon what he claims is a young juvenile Bigfoot that climbed a tree after it saw him. So, I mean, that is kind of what it looks like. I think for me, the most interesting parts of the video are the fact that you do see a cone-shaped head, which is something a lot of Bigfoot experts have explained, that these creatures have cone-shaped skulls. We saw it in the Yeti with the skulls that they kept there. We see it in witness accounts, and we even see it with gorillas in the wild, is that they do have a conal-shaped head, a little longer than ours are. But in this video, we don't really have any distinctive features other than a general shape, and that could be our mind playing tricks on us, you know, putting things there that aren't really there. It's a really thick pine tree, so it would be kind of hard to see anything through it since there's so many needles and all of that. It's a thick brush. But I think this one for me raises questions about the second video we watched. Maybe these creatures do know that when people are there, they stand completely still. because they can hide. So especially in a tree like this, a juvenile would be taught by their parents to climb the tree, stand as still as possible, or sit as still as possible, and not to even blink until the danger has passed. And we see this with a lot of creatures in the wild, that they freeze when a predator is in the area, and we might be predators to Bigfoot. Now, it's time to rate this footage. I'm going to give it, and this might be controversial. Controversial? There we go. I'm going to give this footage 3 feet. And here's why. Because, one, we don't have enough evidence from the person who took it or anything about the video, where it is, anything like that. So that knocks it down. But, I mean, behaviorally, it makes sense. And it's just out of reach enough that it feels super believable. Now, I don't want to give it a 4 or anything like that because there are questions about it. You know, we can't really see enough of it to distinguish anything, but we see enough that looks pretty similar to a Bigfoot. And for me, again, it comes down to the behavior. It makes sense that a juvenile Bigfoot would be climbing trees to hide and be told to just stand completely still. It works for nature that we know. So why wouldn't it work for Bigfoot? So 3 feet it is. And that's all the videos we have for today, for this first episode of SasqWatching. I hope you've enjoyed, and please let me know on Discord or on Instagram, or even comment on the episode itself what you think. If you are listening on the podcast and you want to see this video, sign up for our Patreon. We have tons of different tiers that are accessible to everyone, but you get to watch me in this beautiful living room with these cool lights talk about these videos. You even get to see Penny in the background, rolling around and shaking, of course. Now, I've loved doing this and I can't wait to do more. So, what do you think? Is Sasquatch really out there? Thanks for watching. Woo! Episode 1 of SasqWatching. Woo! Thanks.